Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and it's Women's History Month, and I'm here today to talk to you about Young and Hungry. This show ran from 2014 to 2018, lasting for 5 seasons. It was the show on that of ABC Family. Oh, by the way, yes, I know it's not Women's History Month and stuff like that, but I don't feel like waiting till next year to like post this video in March. So I'm posting it now. Why? Because I don't feel like waiting, and this is a show I've been wanting to talk about for the longest time. And, you know, this show was really popular when it was on. But, you know, you got some people who love this show. You got some people who hate this show. You got some people who have never heard of this show. And you got some people who have mixed feelings about this show. I'm one of those people who love it, but I got mixed feelings because, you know, you realize something. You didn't necessarily realize this all the time when you watched it, like back in the day and it came out weekly, but there is a lot of problematic stuff in this show. I am not joking. And you gotta remember that this show came out before that of like, you know, the Me Too era and like when like cultural appropriation type stuff and awareness started, but then it also filmed during those times, and you can see a little bit of a shift in the way they tell their jokes. However, yeah, the show is problematic. But the thing about this show is, you know, like I said before, a lot of people just never heard of it or just probably never seen it because it was on ABC Family, and ABC Family now is called Freeform, and ABC Family used to be called Fox Family. And so like, but when Disney bought out Fox, so one of two things happened. Either when Disney just bought out Fox altogether, or when Disney bought out Fox Kids and all the Saban stuff. Because a lot of Saban stuff like Power Rangers and his other shows, like the new Addams Family television show, you know, they was on like Fox Family. Also, so was S Club 7. But then Disney bought the right to all the Saban stuff, and they, you know, got a lot of his properties and stuff. But I remember Fox Family didn't last that long, and then sometime it became ABC Family, but I don't know exactly when it became ABC Family. I do think it was before, you know, Disney acquired all of Fox properties and, you know, stuff, and like, you know, because they wanted like, you know, their like Marvel properties back and stuff like that. So I think it was way before then. And Fox Family was so different back then. It was mostly geared to teenagers and like, you know, live action programs, cartoons, stuff like that, things kids will like. And then when it became ABC Family, they decided to focus more on like, you know, teen dramas and like sitcoms and stuff like that. And when it became Freeform, it still has remained that. However, I'll say this. There isn't that much original programming on Freeform no more. So I don't know how long their network is gonna last. They can't just keep showing reruns and stuff like that, you know? Because pretty much every type of like drama has like disappeared on Freeform. Freeform reminds me a little bit of the CW. Once ABC Family became Freeform, it became way more diverse. It was more female-led series, LGBT character representation, and people of color. And you used to be able to watch Young and Hungry on Netflix back in the day. I remember about 2 solar eclipses ago, I was waiting for the solar eclipse. And so I was bored outside just waiting for it. And I'm just sitting in the chair watching Young and Hungry on my tablet. You know, it was good times back then. That's when I started binging the show. I think when I started watching around season 4 or so, something like that. And the only reason why I watched it is because of the lead actress, Emily Osment. I wanted to see what she can do beyond that of Hannah Montana, you know? But yeah, you used to be able to watch this on Netflix. Then I think at one point Hulu picked it up. But then they got rid of it. And then Netflix got rid of it a few years ago. Now, the Freeform app, it was the only place you could have watched this show at the time, right? Well, that was until September 23rd, when the ABC app, Disney Now app, Freeform, and a bunch of other stuff went bye-bye. It went the way of the dinosaur and everything. So now you can no longer watch it for free. Now the only place you can watch it is Prime and Sling, but you have to pay for it additionally to what you're already paying for with those two streaming sites. It sucks. I don't know why it didn't go back to Hulu. Now in some other countries, it's on Disney Plus. Make it make sense, people. Make it make sense. Oy, I swear. But you know, around this time when this show came out in ABC Family, you had a lot more sitcom with young adults. That's what they was aiming for and stuff. And teen dramas like Pretty Little Liars. And so, you know, to last 5 seasons and to have a cast who normally star in things as like sidekick role characters or best friend type things, you know, you got to give them their props and stuff like that. However, like I said before, looking back on the humor, it's a bit problematic. The show was created by David Holden, and with those 5 seasons, season 2 and season 5 only had 20 episodes, while the other seasons only had 10. And there was like, you know, a special episode, like a Christmas holiday episode in the form of, I think, like a TV movie probably, or just like a special episode. This was a big thing for people who liked this show back then. And when the show got canceled, they were devastated because it left off on a major cliffhanger and stuff. This show was supposed to get resolved in the TV movie, but ABC Family decided to scrap those plans. The show was also going to have a spin-off of the Sophia character around season 4 because there was a backdoor pilot episode film, but they decided to pass up on that. In a way, I'm kind of glad the Sophia show didn't happen, only because I didn't like the supporting cast they gave her. And one of the supporting cast members is a guy who's basically canceled now. He was on a show called The 100. And needless to say, I think he got kicked off that show because they found, you guessed it, some old tweets that he wrote. Some old racist, misogynist type tweets. And they were really bad. And so, yes, I'm glad it didn't get picked up because I would not want to see that guy no more. But plus, the supporting characters really wasn't like all that, you know what I'm saying? And plus, I would have missed Sophia on the show because Sophia was one of the best characters until they ruined her character in the last season. Actually, by the 5th season, everybody's character just started getting worse and worse and worse. And that's one of the problematic things of this show. The characters, while, you know, funny and interesting and cute and stuff like that, they're some of the worst people ever. And they just started getting worse and worse and worse by the end of the series run. And, you know, like, because it's just like the little habits that they have are just so annoying and everything. And yes, this show does rely on stereotypes. Now, when it comes to David, I'm not familiar with his work. I looked it up and he's actually never really done too many, like, you know, adult, like, sitcom type stuff. Mostly like a writer. He's worked on Disney Channel of all things. So it's really interesting to see his brand of comedy and how it's like watered down raunchy. It's watered down edgy. This show reminds me actually a bit of a combination of like 80s shows and 90s sitcom show when they was a bit more edgy and stuff like that. And I say that because like, okay, take a show like Married with Children, right? I love Married with Children. It's an awesome show. But as an adult, I can look back on it and be like, yeah, that show is problematic. Yeah, those characters are horrible. And yeah, it really taught people to be some of the worst people in life. Like I told you I think a couple of years ago, that while I like the show and everything, you know, the show used to make fun of big women, you know what I'm saying? And so because of that, I was never into big women because I was just a kid watching this show. And I figured, oh, well, if this show tells me that big women are like unattractive and gross and whatever, then I must not like them. But then as I started getting older and becoming like a teenager, and I saw this one show with a big lady, I'm like, wow, big women are actually very attractive and very beautiful and stuff like that. And so, you know, shows have a way, like I said, you can learn a lot from shows, sometimes good things and sometimes bad things. And so, like, you know, Married with Children was a show that degraded women a lot. It had a lot of like stereotypes, men stereotype, women stereotype, race stereotypes, body size stereotypes and everything. But it is a hilarious show. It's just a product of its time. And so you can use that excuse to give like Married with Children a pass. It's a product of its time. This show, however, is not a product of its time because it came out in 2014. This is when the world started to reshape itself and move forward and, you know, stop like, you know, doing such problematic stuff. So it's kind of odd that when you see this problematic stuff in this show, like Yolanda having an alcohol and drug problem, but it's played off for laughs, having Elliot just be horrible to Gabby and use the B word constantly to call women. And it's just kind of like, you know, it's just like, when was this show made? Like 20, 30 years ago? Oh no, it was only a couple of years ago. And stuff. And they do try to push the envelope here and there, like with the awareness stuff type episodes. Like they poke fun at it, like cultural appropriation with like black people hair or Black Lives Matter or alcoholism, or like how Elliot is constantly horny and hitting on his boss in a very, very, very disgusting kind of way. And it's just kind of like, it's a one-sided flirtation. And his character, you know how like in those older days, say like Night Court, you had Dan, I think Dan, the one lawyer dude who was constantly hitting on women and being a sleazebag and cheating on women, like the Joey type from Friends. He's not like that. He literally just crushes on his boss and says the most inappropriate things, and you're just kind of like, wait, hold up. Now the Me Too moment taught us we ain't supposed to do that, and I'm surprised this, like, you know, happened after the Me Too movement happened. But this show came out before the Me Too movement, but it was on during the Me Too era movement. So you did start to see a change in his personality until they said, ah, screw it, let's just go back to it. Even when he was married, it's just like, kind of like, what? Now, this show was executive produced by Ashley Tisdale, also from Disney Channel and stuff. And it's cool how she was able to executive produce a show. Now, she was supposed to also be in the spinoff with Sophia, but like I said, it didn't get picked up. Now, she does appear 3 times in the series. Now, something I never knew at that time until I researched this show is that this show is loosely based on a real life person. The character of Gabby Diamond, played by Emily Osment, is actually loosely based on the life of professional food chef and food blogger Gabby Moskowitz. I never knew that this was based on her life, you know. Now, I'm saying it wrong. Moskowitz is actually Jewish. Now, Emily Osment is not, and neither is Gabby Diamond. But, you know, and then a lot of people always ask her the question, how much is this show actually based on your life? Have you ever slept with your boss? She wants the whole world to know she has never slept with her boss. All the stuff in the show is fiction, and her mom is still alive and stuff like that. The only similarities is that she was a personal chef for many, many years. In her 20s, she was a hot, struggling mess, and she had a best friend very similar to that of Sophia. But everything else is fiction. So we're just gonna have to take her word on she never slept with her boss. She was also an executive producer on the show, and she actually guest starred in one episode. So what exactly is this show about? Is it about like food? Is it about like a chef like trying to like advance her career in life? Well, it's actually just like a romance comedy. See, Emily Osment plays that of Gabby Diamond, a 20-something-year-old who lived in Florida, moved to California, I think, and became like the personal chef of like this big time millionaire dude. There she ends up like, you know, doing the whole will they, won't they, because she slept with him on the first day when she had her food tryout and everything. And so it's kind of very much like the Ross and Rachel thing from Friends, or the Quinn and Wade or Maggie from Sliders. Will they be a couple? Will they not be a couple? You know, but there's always something getting in their way that prevents them from being together until they are finally able to be together towards the end of the series. But then there's still more complications, and it ended on that of a cliffhanger. And when it comes to this show, you have a very colorful cast. There is a lot of representation in this show, and it works very well. Sadly, like I said, there are stereotypes, but I feel like this is the new normal of television, and it works so well. See, diversity is not killing television, it's not ruining characters and story arcs, because this show lasted for 5 years and like it proved it was successful, and these characters proved to be very realistic. And even though they were stereotypes, like I said before, stereotypes are based on real life events and people and stuff like that. But the problem with stereotypes is just not everybody in that community act the exact same way, but Hollywood likes to make people think they do. And because, you know, you have in this show, you have white people, black people, you have Asian characters, you have Jewish characters, and you have Latino representation. And, you know, and the Latinos, sometimes they will actually speak Spanish and stuff, which is really great. That's one thing the Spanish audience have been asking for their Spanish characters, especially the Spanish characters that are actually played by actual Latinos and stuff. And also there's LGBT representation in this show. And, you know, there was once a show on NBC called The New Normal. I never watched that because Nene Leakes was in that. And I'm like, okay, look, she is not no real actress. She is just another trophy wife type person, reality star, who somehow got a TV gig like that idiot Amber Rose did and everything. I'm not going to watch a show like that from somebody who cannot act. So I never did. But like, it also reminds me a little bit of like Modern Family a little bit, because Modern Family had like a somewhat diverse cast. It was mostly just composed of like whites and Hispanics and one Asian star, and also LGBT. I know black people. I don't understand that. Not even one single person could be black. Anyway, But yeah, and the cast works very well, especially with their age difference. Everybody in this show is like a different, like, age range from each other. You have Gabby and Sophia, who are best friends and been best friends since they were like 2 years old. They're in their mid 20s and out of college. You have Josh, the millionaire, who is in his 30s. You have Elliot, the publicist, who turned 40 by like the second season and stuff. And then you have Yolanda, the housekeeper, who's in her 50s and stuff. And the actress who plays her, Kim Whitley, she does not even look like she's 50. She's 60 now and don't even look like she's 60. And and it's interesting because you got these different age ranges from different decades, but they act so well with each other. And when they tend to hang out with each other, because like all the characters hang out with each other, but then the side characters of that, Sophia, Elliot, and Yolanda, they all hung out for like an episode or two, and it's just like they meshed so well. You know what I'm saying? Like, even though their personalities are so different, they just, when you see them hang out, it looks as normal can be. You don't even think that they're different ages and stuff like that because of how, like, youthful and vibrant they all act and everything, and how well they can get along. But they also argue stuff too, but it just seems so genuine. You know what I'm saying? And you don't really see that with other shows. With other shows, when there's like an age gap, you can tell these people are different ages. But with here, I mean, yeah, they might look it sometimes, but they don't act it. You know what I'm saying? Because like Sophia's in her 20s and she's just hanging out with the 40 and 50-year-old, and it just seems as normal can be. And they're even diverse with who they date. Like, you have Yolanda, who's black, and she'll date any race and stuff like that, as long as the man's interested in her. You have Elliot, who's like Asian, and like, it was shown that he dated a black man in the past, but then he ended up dating and marrying a Jewish character. And then you have like Sophia, who's Hispanic, and she'll date like, okay, here's the thing that's interesting. When it comes to that, okay, Sophia, they only have her date whites and Hispanics. You'll never see her date no other race. But then here's the odd thing. When it comes to that Josh and Gabby, they only date white people. And it's just kind of like, on a show this diverse, why are the two leads who are white only dating white people? And then it's just kind of like, you would have thought at some point in time one of them would have like mixed it up, but they never did. This show also has many famous guest stars and stuff, including the late and great Betty White, may she rest in peace, the last remaining of the Golden Girls and stuff. And yeah, there are so many famous people, from famous movie stars, television stars, voice actors, famous chefs, a famous dancer. Twitch Boss, may he rest in peace, plays a fictional version of himself. However, I did not like his storyline because I'm just kind of like, it just didn't work for me because it's kind of like he was barely in the show. That's not what worked for me. It was just, okay, here's the thing. Both Yolanda and Elliot are into Twitch, right? But Elliot's married and Yolanda is single. And so she runs into him twice, and the second time she finally gets to flirt with him. And he's married in the show, like fictional wise, but he's also married in real life. And so like, she tells him, I always had a huge crush on you when you was on So You Think You Can Dance. And he told her, well, I had a crush on you too. And, you're my free pass. Like, my wife said that, if I could ever meet you, I could hook up with you. Because he assumed she was Jack K. Is it Jack K. Herring or Harry? I can't remember her last name. Jack K. I'll just say it like that. I forget her last name. And then what's interesting about that is that Jack K actually played her sister in that Christmas episode I reviewed years ago. And so I'm just kind of like, okay, he's a fictional version of himself, But why they have to write it to where he's allowed to step out on his marriage? Because now that made me stop and think, what was his marriage really like with Allison? Was he really allowed to have a free pass? And then it just makes me start thinking, why did he take his own life? And did they have problems behind the scenes? And I'm just kind of like, I wish they would have wrote him differently on this show, you know? Because I don't want to think of stuff like that, because there are some people, my people, black people, who give Allison a hard time because they assume, oh, the only reason why he did what he did, like kill himself, was because, oh, he must have been having problems with her and she's white and they have biracial kids and blah, 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 blah. And I know his brother does not like her. And like, you know, and now she's finally dating after all these years. But now she's raising eyebrows because she's not only just dating anybody, she's dating a white guy who's like a millionaire and CEO. And so people's kind of like, ain't that kind of interesting? And I hate that because I was a fan of both of theirs. And like Allison's a great dancer on So You Think You Can Dance and Dancing with the Stars. I think she's no longer on Dancing with the Stars. And it's just kind of like, there's never been no scandal about her. Like, I've never heard a bad thing about her. But people are giving her a hard time, you know, because of this and stuff. So I wish they would have not written that line into his character, because it's just going to make people wonder and speculate, you know. Now, this show is not meant to be taken seriously, no way whatsoever. It's just mostly made for laughs, to make fun of like important things. And that just becomes a little bit irritating now when you binge it and you just kind of like, you know, it would have been nice to have one serious moment, because the only serious moments are really the whole Gabby and Josh dating thing. That's really about it. They make light of everything. They make jokes on height, because, you know, Elliot's Asian. And so they say, oh, you know, you're short. But the thing is, he's actually 5'7" in real life. But they keep saying he's short only because he's Asian. And I'm just like, the dude's 5'7". He's taller than I am. I am way shorter than that. And the actress who plays Sophia and Gabby, they're actually really short, only like a 3-inch height difference. But Gabby looks tall on the show because they constantly put her in heels. And so they make fun of like people's height. They make fun of people's weight, racial hairstyles and everything, racial movements, the LGBT community, alcoholism, drug abuse and everything. What is it? Oh, are you pregnant? Are you not? Like, you know what I'm saying? And just like all kind of like different things, like adoption and like, you know, marital affairs and everything. And it's just like everything here is made for laughs, and you're not supposed to take it seriously. But it's hard not to, because this is the times we live in where everything's taken more seriously, and there are more serious shows out there, more serious sitcoms. I mean, even Disney Channel can get serious once in a while, and so can Power Rangers, but this show don't never do it. Now, starting with the second season, they added an intro, and I'm so happy because I love intros. I miss intros so much of the 90s and early 2000s, and this intro is awesome. It's a cool band playing, and they're basically at like a dinner table. Everybody's wearing like white, black, and gray, and then a food fight starts, and it's a huge food fight, and some of it has sexual innuendos in the food fight. Like, you'll have Sophia take like a bowl of peas and carrots and just like chuck them at both Yolanda and Elliot. Now, Elliot and Yolanda both love men, but the peas are supposed to represent kind of like balls, and they mostly go in Yolanda's mouth. Then you have Elliot, who's gay, and all of a sudden he's holding like a wine glass, and this huge brown sausage, and I mean it's huge, just flies across his face and splashes down in his wine glass. And you know what that's supposed to represent. Then it ends with Gabby taking her finger, because it's like a second version of Gabby who's bigger and everything, takes her fingers and goops up like around where the characters are, and then she licks her finger. Now there are details missing in this video. There's a full music video about this, and it has all the hidden meaning stuff. So when Gabby sticks her finger down and goops up, she is actually gooping up the show's cast, and they're on her finger and she eats them and everything. I guess they didn't want to show that because there was too many innuendos in there and stuff like that. But it's an awesome intro. But like I said before, this is a very fun, very nice, very quirky type sitcom. But, you gotta address the flaws in the characters and stuff, because they are very problematic at times, which I'm about to get into right now. Gabby Diamond, played by Emily Osment. So, I remember Emily Osment from that Disney Channel, Hannah Montana, right? But I never watched Hannah Montana. I had to clear my throat. Because I never liked that show, right? Like, I've only seen one real episode, and that's only because it's on my Wizards on Deck of Hannah Montana DVD. But I've seen clips from, like, the show. And, she's a pretty funny person. And she did that Dad Nap movie, which I've never seen, but I need to see one day because I'm just curious. And, she's been in, like, other movies and stuff, but I haven't watched them. But I'm going to watch one because I found a couple of them on Tubi. And so, I've always, like, knew who she was, but never, like, really seen her stuff. But she's a really funny person. And it's really cool that she was given her own television show playing the lead when she played a sidekick for so many years, And so that's like really awesome when sidekick characters can get their own show. And there are some who have done that before. I remember one of the first people I've ever seen do that was, I can't even think of her name. I know it starts with a C. I think it's Constance, I'm not sure. But first she was on Moesha, and then she had her own show called The Parkers. But even though she was the lead on that show, the woman who played her mom actually stole the whole show. But it was still cool. She was able to get her own spinoff and stuff. So that's always great to see. And I remember, like, I just now seen an interview from years ago of Emily, saying that, even though the whole cast was sad that the show ended, she said, it was like, the right time for it to end. She didn't say exactly why, but I'm starting to think it's probably because, she wants to move on from, like, like playing these goofy type roles. Because she said also that, like, after this ended, she got approached by Netflix to do another, like, comedy series. And at first she was not going to take that because, like, she's done the whole dumb blonde thing so many times that she wanted to move away from sitcoms. But she did it in a way. It lasted for a season. Then, of course, she went on to Young Sheldon, and now she got another spinoff show from Young Sheldon. I forget what it's called, but it's like, his brother and her are like married with a kid and everything. So that's great. She's always working. She's always landing these roles. And I remember when I saw her also on Two Broke Girls, where, yeah, it's a comedy, but she played a very serious character. I think she was like a drug addict or something like that. And so I also know she was on Almost Family. But that show only lasted for a season. I knew it was because the source material is based off, lasted a season also in Australia. So that show was destined to fail no matter what. But whether or not she's tired of playing like sitcom, comedy, dumb roles and stuff, I say just act, work, because you never want to be one of those stars that have to work in between jobs when you're a celebrity. And Hollywood is fickle. One minute you can be famous and the next moment you're not. And because you're a former Disney child, people are going to hold that against you. So I say just take whatever role comes your way, But like, also, she was probably saying, also, it was probably time for the show to end because, like, this show is problematic. It's like, if this would have been like 30 years ago, fine, but it's not 30 years ago. But anyway, Gabby Diamond. Gabby is a very sweet young girl in her mid 20s. She came from Florida all the way to California, and she is a pretty good chef. I say pretty good only because when she first starts out, she doesn't know how to cook everything. And so when she auditions to like be a personal chef, she had to look on YouTube how to make certain things. This seems to have gotten retconned very quickly, or the fact that she just like learned how to do it very well on the fly, because after this, she's cooking all kind of exotic meals and everything. Now, we never really truly see her get to cook. We see her mostly stirring stuff, and that's about it. But I wanted to see things getting mixed. I wanted to see the final product of stuff. Kind of like, what was that cooking magic show that I reviewed a long time ago? Just Add Magic. They used to always show ingredients falling down in the bowl, getting stirred, getting cut a certain way, all kind of cool stuff, right? You don't see that here. But anyways, but she is a pretty proficient chef. And like, cooking is just like her passion. Like, one of her idols is Julia Childs, because she keeps mentioning her over and over. Now, of course, she's dead, and may she rest in peace. She also has other idols and stuff like that. And so when she became the personal chef of a like millionaire and everything, like, this was great because, her and Sophia moved from Florida to California, and they are struggling. They live in like a one room, or I guess a one bedroom like apartment, that Sophia gets the bedroom in the room where Gabby originally, in one episode, she slept on the couch in the living room, but after that, she sleeps in the corner room on another couch and everything. It's never explained when and how she got a different bed, but she did. And so, her and Sophia are like greatest of great best friends. But when it comes to Gabby, she has a lot of obstacles in her life. Why? Because she is a screw up. The thing about Gabby that I've noticed is that she's not very bright. And as the show progresses with per season, she gets dumber and dumber and dumber and dumber. And it's to the point where you're like, how are you able to survive? Because it's like she always puts herself in these situations, and for the most part, she doesn't even get herself out. She has to get bailed out by Josh, her boss. Now, her boss, she ended up sleeping with on the first day because he was engaged. He broke up. They had some drinks and they slept together. After this, they don't sleep together again until about 3 years later. Because of the course of this show of 5 seasons, it only takes place for 3 years. And so eventually, feelings are like, going between those two and stuff like that. But he gets back with his fiance. So the whole goal of hers in the first season was to keep this a secret from that of his fiance, which, she always narrowly is able to do because it's always an obstacle that's about to like expose her. But for the most part, she doesn't really harbor no real true feelings towards him in the first season. But she is a very, like, loyal person. Like when Elliot tricked her to be a lesbian so that, like, Logan can put Josh in the magazine. She went on the date, thought it was just like them being girls and hanging out, but turned out it was a date. So she went along with it, even going as far as kissing her and stuff. But the thing about her is that she always wants people to be happy. And I mean, like, really happy. Even so much that if you tell her don't do something, she does the complete opposite. And because of that, she gets in everybody's business. Like, what was it? I forget what one scenario was, but I think Yolanda had like a kid she ain't seen in a while, so she end up finding that kid and having her visit. And then there's an episode where Elliot's like really upset because he's about to turn 40. So she calls his parents and is all like, you know, it'll be really nice if you can come. And then she outs him out to his parents because they have no idea. So now they don't want to come. Then when she finds out he had a crush on this person in high school, she found that person, but she found the wrong person. And, you know, she's always doing that crap. When people tell her to butt out their business, she just can't, because deep down inside, she wants to help people out because she just wants people to be happy. Just like she wants to be happy. She is a romantic and she can't seem to find the right guy because every time she does, either she finds a jerk or she'll find Mr. Right, but then the whole Josh situation ruins it for her. And sometimes she ruins it for herself because she overthinks things and like gets really stubborn, and like, you know, it just gets very, very complicated. She has a really huge stubborn streak. And, you know, I remember, like, when it comes to her and Sophia, they're like I said before, best friends. But towards the end of the series, they started to fight a lot because you realize something. Gabby is very selfish in everything and only thinks about herself. And it really bugs Sophia because Sophia used to be the type of person who would drop whatever she was doing to help Gabby out. And, you know, and Gabby will always do something to ruin stuff for even Sophia. Like, Sophia boss gave her this ugly couch. This couch Sophia didn't want, but she figured, hey, to get on my boss's good graces, I'm going to keep this couch. So Gabby, with the help of Josh, gets rid of it, right? And so she doesn't know that Sophia's boss is going to come over. Now there's no couch. So now she has to find the couch. But, you know, Sophia really gives it to her, talking about, like, I told you just to leave it alone and you wouldn't do it because you're just such a selfish kind of friend. And it's even to the point where Sophia asks her, why are we even friends for? Because clearly they are like opposites and stuff, because Gabby's impulsive and will just jump before she looks. And Sophia's more careful and will look before she leaps. And so, like, Gabby being Gabby, she figures, all right, so Josh has this, like, friend company, or he knows an app company that will pick up your stuff, put it to a hidden location, and then they'll sell it kind of like eBay, right? But nobody knows where the storage unit is at. So Gabby being Gabby, she has the pickup company pick up a box. She puts herself in the box so she can get shipped to the place instead of just following the car and driving behind it. But she doesn't think. She just literally stuffs herself in a box and gets shipped on to the facility. Then, of course, when she finds the place, she's butting into other people's business too. It's always somebody in love with somebody else and they can't be with this somebody. So she tries to trick these people into being together. Like one time she had Sophia pretend to be Muslim because Sophia is Dominican and has kind of like, you know, that tannish brown skin that can match for like a Muslim person, and has Sophia pretend to be like this one dude's, like, you know, what do they call them things when they're in the parents plan out a relationship for them. And Sophia's like, yo, man, I don't want to do this crap. Like, this is wrong and everything. But once again, Gabby just doesn't think. Now, with the whole Josh thing, they really truly do have feelings for each other, but something's always coming in the way that like blocks them from getting together. Either he's in a relationship or she's in a relationship, but they truly do care for each other. So it's the will they, won't they be, and when is it gonna happen thing. It's basically the Ross and Rachel thing, but this goes on for the entirety of this series. After maybe the first 2 seasons, you really get tired of it. And I mean, you really get tired of it. Even when she dates other people, it's still Josh lingering over her. Or when he's dating somebody, it's her lingering over him. It just wash, rinse, and repeat. And they need to stop that and just move them on to somebody else. You know, because like I said before, it takes about 3 years just for them to get together. But at the end of season 1, towards the end, see, the whole her and Josh thing ain't gonna happen. And so she meets another guy, Cooper, played by Jesse McCarthy, the voice of Robin from Young Justice. I had no idea. So he's like a nerdy, like, coder and everything. He's really good at stuff like that. And it makes Josh jealous to the point where Cooper accidentally spilt something on Gabby's chest. He's trying to pat it with like a napkin, but Josh takes this as him trying to cop a feel. So he gets into a physical fight with that of, like, you know, Cooper and stuff. Like, she literally always has, like, you know, her and Cooper fighting, him and Cooper fighting over her. But eventually, you know, when she realizes she can't have Josh because he's engaged, she's just gonna date Cooper. Things go so well that Cooper's supposed to move to China to start up, like, you know, his software stuff like that. She goes with him, but what she doesn't know is that Josh broke off his engagement to be with her. Well, that and the girlfriend finally found out. And so, like, this is seriously the whole Ross and Rachel thing. Because didn't Ross go to, like, Japan with his girlfriend? Or no, he went to Japan and met, like, some girl and he started dating Julie. And then, like, made Rachel jealous. This is the whole Ross and Rachel thing. It's literally copied from that. But instead of Japan, they go to China. And so she has no idea that, and it's even the rain sequence. When Josh goes to meet her on her fire escape, it's raining and everything, similar to that of Friends. So he left her this message and everything like that, and she never got it because she was in China. When she comes back, he goes the extra mile to get rid of the message, or so he thinks. And so her and Cooper just, like, date for, like, the longest time. But eventually Cooper found out that one person she did it with. Because one thing I admire this show about, they actually had both Gabby and Josh take STD test and everything, right? I mean, practice safe sex and everything. I'm glad they taught that in the show. You don't see shows teach that. And so they both went together and had their results. When she was going to surprise Coop by dressing up in a cap and gown and, like, doing him in this fancy hotel, she actually grabbed Josh's results, and Cooper put 2 and 2 together. But all she had to say was, oh, me and him went together. I couldn't afford it, so he paid it for me. And it would have been easy peasy, but no, she just confessed. Because despite being a personal chef and working for a millionaire, she is broke, and her and Sophia are struggling. And so he gets pissed and don't want nothing to do with her, what breaks her heart. Eventually, when they're all at this big party thing, he decides to confess that, you know, he's known all along about, like, the secret message that Josh gave her. And Sophia made him keep it quiet. But he can't do it no more, and he finally decides to break things off with Gabby because he just can't take it no more. He can't take this whole love triangle thing. He's sick and tired of Josh, and it's just not going to work out because she can't decide who she wants to be with and stuff. And, you know, and you think her and Josh will get together after that, but no, she's pissed that Josh knew, like, you know, he knew he loved her and everything, went to her and couldn't have her, left a message and never gave it to her. So she felt like, well, you care about me so much, why couldn't you tell me? So of course she doesn't want to be with him and stuff. And this will go on with other relationships and things. But, you know, one little cute episode was the car episode. Her mom died, left her a car, and it's like the most raggedy thing ever. So Josh decides to sell it and buy her another used car, which pisses her off. because the car meant more to her than having a new one because of the sentiment of it. And so he has to get it back and do whatever it takes. Like I told you before, even if she messes up, he is always the one that bails her out. And it gets frustrating because she's the lead character, but she's not totally independent. He does everything for her that makes everything for her happy. If she needs a new car, he'll buy it for her. If she gets pissed because of that, he'll get her old car back, spending more money. When she needs to, like, go out of town to another country for whatever reason, he'll give her his flyer, frequent miles or whatever it's called. And he's always bailing her out one way or another. And so it never causes her to learn her lesson and be independent and strong on her own, because he's always doing everything for her. Like when she wants to do kind of like this Hell's Kitchen type thing for this famous chef, she couldn't get in on her own because she messed the food up. So Josh, pulling some strings, were able to do it for her. Then she gets kicked out because she messed the food up. But then she does what she does. She sweet talks people, and they eventually give her whatever she wants and everything. But it's like, so she went out of town for this big fancy thing in another country, only to screw it up and have to fly back home because the writers needed her and Josh to be back together and crap. It's even to the point where she starts dating Josh's older brother, Jake. And I'm just kind of like, dude, it's the brother of the guy you slept with. Like, what the heck? And he's a little bit more of a free spirit like her, so they click a lot better. They go to, well, not Woodstock, but Coachella together. And they even start like a food business together, a little food truck. So you think, okay, so Gabby doesn't want to be a personal chef all her life. She wants to do her own thing. But who got her the food truck? Well, technically the brother did, but he did it with Josh's money. Then Josh took his money and fixed it up so they can go to Coachella together. So once again, it's Josh always giving her her heart's desire and literally tells her, if you want to be my brother, be my brother. So she does that, only to constantly have dreams of Josh and everything. And so she realizes that it's Josh she wants to be with and not that of the brother. But how the world are you gonna date the brother? Then there's the whole Sophia brother thing. She has known Sophia since she was 2. She knows Sophia's little brother who's younger. And like Sophia tells her, stay with my brother. Of course she doesn't, and she tries to flirt and be with him and hook up with him, but she can't because he's gay. But it's kind of like, dude, how you gonna try to date and sleep with your best friend's brother when she tells you stay away from him? And so she's always doing something, you know what I'm saying? And it gets frustrating after a while. So, like, after a while, you think him and her will get together, right? But then something happened. Either this happened before this one event does or after. I can't remember. But when they do try to date and get together, they realize they're both terrible around each other. And she realizes that Josh keeps pulling away from her every time she tries to be intimate with him. He's now having doubts about them being together. Something happens and he dates somebody else. And so she decides to impulsively hop on the plane that he's on and surprise him, only for him to be with his therapist. And so while there, she's sad and depressed because now she's finna go to Hawaii and she can't be with Josh. So she ends up meeting a guy on a plane and he wants to make his fiance jealous because she left him at the altar or something like that. So they decide they're just going to pretend to be like a couple so they can have the hotel room for free and stuff since it's already paid for. The guy ends up falling for her in real life, but now his fiance gets jealous and wants him back. So now she gets punched out by him and all on her and all this other stuff, right? The problem is the strange guy, the literal strange guy she met on the plane is now in love with her and stuff and doesn't want her, his fiance. So at some point in time, Josh is there and there's a hurricane coming and Gabby's being her dramatic self and goes outside during a hurricane. Josh has to go after her and they nearly die. When they head back to, like, California, they have decided they're just going to end things, period. And she's not even going to work for him no more. So she gets this job at like a really like diner type place with a sleazy male chauvinist pig type boss who's constantly harassing her because she has huge boobs and a nice butt and everything. And he's always pointing that out. This is around the time the Me Too era happened, so they started to address this in the show. And so one way they address it is that, she gets the job of being the manager because he likes the way her body looks. And so Sophia doesn't get it, even though Sophia has more experience than her. So Gabby literally messes up, and when she buys all this bacon, she ends up buying an actual pig. So she gets fired and everything because the pig gives birth. And when that happens, like, the boss comes to their apartment, so she's like, okay, we have to record him for when he says something like sexual and everything, but she doesn't have her phone ready. So in a way, he rehires them both. And so you think this is gonna be like a thing now, okay, she's finally independent, like on her own and this and that, but this gets written out very quickly. One thing I noticed is that every time a situation happens, it gets wrapped up in that same episode. If two people are fighting, it gets wrapped up by the end, no matter how big the fight is. And so, like, of course, she goes back to working with Josh. Every time she has to quit to do something, she ends up working back to him. She's not independent on her own. And this is really odd because she is the main character. You're supposed to root for her, which you do because, you like her and you feel sorry for her. But she causes all this pain on her own. And so, like, she's not even independent on her own and everything. So it's kind of like, why should we root for her? And she's constantly screwing up. And she's not learning from her mistakes whatsoever. It's really odd and peculiar, but you just can't help but to like her because she's such a nice, adorable person. And my God, the clothes they had Emily Osment wear are amazing. I'm not even a fashion type person, but they dressed and dolled her up, always wearing nice blouses, nice skirts, really nice dresses, and really nice shoes, which the real Gabby says she doesn't dress that way. She's more of a I'm about to say sneaker and jean at the same time. So she wears sneakers and jeans and just a regular shirt, and she's good to go with her hair in a ponytail or down. It really is a fictional version of her, man. And so, like, in the finale, because this is a weird thing. So by the end of the 4th season, into the 5th, her and Josh decide, hey, they're just going to sleep together. They're not going to date because they realize they're terrible for each other. And so, like, they have this thing called like a card that they get the hole punch and everything. It's their sex hole punch card. They each get 5 on the card. So whenever they just want to do it, they get to punch it and they won't have no feelings and stuff. And once it's gone, then they won't do it no more. But both of them realize that they are in love with the other person, especially when Josh starts dating another girl. So this is what causes them to finally date. And when they date, you realize they don't even really do nothing like a couple. They first try to like have a romantic dinner, but Sophia is there being a third wheel because she's single. Then you never really see them date. It's just they're off on their own wacky adventure and they're still arguing a lot, like over the motorcycle incident. She got her uncle's moped. Her uncle used to be her aunt. See, She was trying to track down her aunt and couldn't find her. The aunt didn't even go to the funeral, and she hasn't seen her in 10 years. So she tracked her down, and turns out her aunt is now her uncle having a sex change. And turns out he really was at the funeral, just nobody didn't recognize him. And he didn't tell nobody because people would not understand. They handled that storyline very, very well and stuff. And Gabby was very supportive of, him finding himself, And it was actually played by an actual transgender man. So, normally they don't do that in television, but now we're in this era where they do that. And so that was great representation right there, and actually having the actual trans man. And so Josh doesn't want her to use the motorcycle because he says she's going to get hurt. So he drives it, calls him out on the phone, and gets into a wreck, realizing that he was right. But that's only because he was driving at night and was on the cell phone. But whatever, you know what I'm saying? So they do date. You never really see them date because they're on their own wacky adventure type episode, right? But one of the funniest episode is when he tries to spend the night. And when he does, he realizes something. See, Gabby and Sophia's apartment is really nice looking, but it's kind of cluttered. There's a bunch of stuff everywhere. You assume it's decoration. No, they just don't clean. So when he goes to the bathroom, this is our first time seeing the bathroom, it is disgusting. It makes you want to throw up. So he's freaking out because he's becoming germophobic and don't want to stay there. And when he's sleeping there, he's hearing gunshots because her and Sophia live in a bad part of town. But you don't know that because they never emphasize on that. And so they mention it twice, but it's just like you forget about it because you never see nothing bad happen there. So anyways, he decides he's going to have somebody clean her entire apartment up and get new stuff. He bought her an actual bed to go in the corner, got her a new refrigerator, a new couch, a new everything. She is furious, talking about how dare you clean my apartment? How dare you buy me all this nice stuff? You don't accept me for who I am, a dirty person. But the thing is, you don't realize her and Sophia are this dirty because this is the first time we've ever seen the bathroom and stuff. And oh God, it's so nasty. So she's literally on the verge of breaking up with him, being dramatic. But I think Sophia had to literally talk her out of it and stuff. But then he realized, you know what, you're right. So I'm gonna get all your old stuff back. She's like, no. So now, of course, she got all her old crap. But in the finale, it's a little crazy. See, he was gonna propose to her, but while they're on a yacht, this one famous chef gave her an offer of a lifetime to be a shoe chef. Oh, I can't say that. Shoe chef. Tongue twister there. And it's in Washington. And he's like, crap, dude, I'm not going to move to Washington. What am I going to do? So he doesn't propose to her. But when she finds out she decides to propose to him. But then we don't know his answer because it ends on a cliffhanger. Yeah. Josh Kaminsky, played by Jonathan Sadowitz. I'm not sure how to say his last name. So I remember I first saw him in Live Free Die Hard, where he played the tech support type dude, the technician. And so here he's like a startup guy who does software, apps and things like that. And he's an extremely smart, genius type person who is a self-made millionaire who lives in a penthouse suite. And so, Josh is a very nice, cool guy and everything. He's a little dorky and everything, and but all around, he's a really happy, nice person. His publicist is Elliot, who's like in love with him and stuff. And his house cleaner is Yolanda, who's really good friends with him. And he treats them very well. Even when Elliot hits on him every second of the day, it doesn't faze him. Because he said Elliot's like his best friend, even though they don't act like they're best friends. And so, he's the type of person that when his friends are in financial need, he'll just throw money at them and make everything go away. It's just the type of person he is, right? And in the beginning of the first season, he's a little bit more happy, cheerful, go lucky type person. And, you know, Gabby wins him over with her grilled cheese. He says really ooey gooey and everything. And he's one of those like young 30-something dudes who always wears like those tight clothes and doesn't wear like business suits, wears like casual clothes, like, you know, something like that, you know. And he has a fiance named Caroline. Caroline, the actress who plays her, I remember I saw her in like, I think it's Caroline or Christine, Caroline, that's it. Played by Mallory Jensen. I remember I saw her in Gallivant. I've reviewed Gallivant before. And she is a very mean, selfish, vain type person. She's so rude and nasty and selfish. She's basically a trophy wife who's rude and nasty to everybody. And you have to ask yourself, what the heck does Josh see in her other than her being hot? Because she's nothing like him. And she's nothing like his personality. So why in the world is he gonna marry her for? And she's so nasty, and he knows she's nasty. One of the people she's the nastiest to is Gabby and everything. This is before she found out they slept together. And so throughout the entire first season, you know, they had to keep that a secret from her. When Gabby takes like a pregnancy test and thinks she's pregnant, what is it? Somehow, I guess like somebody thinks it's like hers, like Caroline's, right? But it turns out it's not. And it's a big embarrassing moment for like Gabby and everything like that. And of course, Josh is freaking out because he knows he slept with Gabby and everything. But eventually, when the thing is, he hacks into like Gabby's phone at the end, on the beginning of season. No, wait a minute, because she's not in season 2. So he hacks into her phone at the end of season 1. And he deletes, like, you know, the voice message that he left her. Eventually, when he's with Caroline, it ends up playing on like the speaker. That's how she finds out. And she leaves him, and she's never seen again. She never reappears in the show. But she is mentioned in the second season because supposedly Josh had a weak moment and slept with her. And so, you know, the thing with Josh sleeping with Gabby, I mean, it was totally legal fine because think about it. Him and Caroline had broke up. She literally broke up with him for like a stupid reason. So the engagement was off and they were broken up. But then, you know, after they slept together, him and Caroline got back together. It is still weird and odd that, like, you know, he will like her. But then you kind of see a little bit why. When Gabby starts to date Cooper, Josh completely changes. He becomes controlling and everything and super jealous. And I'm just like, wow, I did not see that coming because he didn't act that way all the time. But now he is literally just like the controlling boyfriend who gets grumpy and angry, and he's not even dating Gabby. He doesn't want her around no other guy. And I can't stand that when people do that crap. And I can't stand when writers do that because they're trying to ruin his character. Anyways, after that, we realize that he starts to just start sleeping around with multiple women. He's just a hoe and everything. So he's that stereotypical billionaire type. And it's just kind of like, where is this behavior coming from? Because he doesn't really do stuff like that. At least we didn't see him. But now this makes sense as to why he slept with Gabby and this and that. There's literally an episode with this girl that he hooked up with or something like that, and then dumped her later on or just forgot about her. Came back to, like, you know, visit him, and she pretended they got married, but they really didn't. And she did that to teach him a lesson because he just, like, you know, he just uses girls and sleeps with them and then forgets about them next time. Now, he does end up dating the girls he sleeps with in this show, so that's a good thing. But when he's dating this one woman, oh, now I remember what it was. It wasn't Yolanda, daughter, who she didn't see. Well, technically it was, But when they contacted her, there was no like drama. I got her mixed up with the news reporter lady. So he started dating this news reporter lady, right? And she hasn't seen her daughter in forever. So Gabby's doing what Gabby does best, interfering in people's lives, and contacts the girl. The girl comes over to Josh's place with the mom's there, and Josh realizes something. Crap, years ago, he slept with the daughter. And then just never called her back or something like that. So he tells the girl, like, well, we can't tell your mom and everything like that because she'll freak out and just won't understand. But the girl is like in love with him. So Gabby, I think, talks to her, and so she's like in love with her. So one time when Josh and the girlfriend were, the mother was at his place, Gabby busts through the door and it's all like, Josh, like, I'm sorry, I tried to talk to the daughter and now she's like more in love with you when y'all slept together and stuff like that. Turns out that the daughter decided, you know what, I'm not going to get hung on this guy and just leave. Of course, who was in the bed with him? The mother. So she breaks up with him and everything. And so by the third season, this is when the whole brother situation started to happen. And him just like being like, whatever, you want her, you have her. But then eventually the brother ends up breaking up with her, and like they were going to start dating. This is when he started to have problems. See, the thing with Josh is like a lot of people hate his character. I don't like that he sleeps around, but other than that, everything else is fine with him. Well, that and the controlling thing and the jealousy thing I don't like either. But everything else is fine with him. See, the whole thing of why he's pulling away from Gabby is because he realizes that she's not right for him. He likes her, he loves her, but they are just oil and water and everything. And even when Sophia, her boyfriend, starts moving really, really fast, that makes Gabby jealous, all like, they're literally about to move in together after like 5 dates, and it's taking you 3 years and you can't even make a move and everything, which causes them to have problems when she talks to him like that. But there's a reason for that. Gabby is very unstable and doesn't think things through. But it takes them an eventual while for them to, do the whole punch card thing and like, stuff like that. But when I say Gabby is selfish, because see, Josh tells her a secret that he has a hidden desire, but he doesn't do it around his girlfriends because they'll just make fun of him. He wants to be a magician. He calls himself the Magician. And so he puts on like a magic show for like all these fancy friends of his, right? Elliot joins in and Yolanda joins in, but Gabby doesn't want to do it. And she literally tells him, it's stupid, I don't like this, and I wish you would stop doing this. And I'm just kind of like, dude, all the crazy stuff you do, he supports. But when he wants to do something he loves, since he's been a child, she can't even support him doing that and everything. And it's just more of her being like, selfish and stuff. But then, like I told you before, like, he was going to propose to her, but then he decided not to because it's kind of like he loves her and he wants to be with her. But it's like, she's going to move to Washington. And so she proposes to him, but we don't know what his answer is. Sophia, played by Amy Carino. So Sophia has one of those like, traditional Hispanic names. She has at least like, 6 different names to her before you get to like her last one. This is kind of a recurring gag they do in Hollywood when it comes to a Latino character. They did it in Married with Children. But actual Latinos do have like long names. Some people do, like Antonio Banderas, which he has an extremely long name. In fact, I think Antonio's not even his real name. I think it's Jose, I think. But he has like at least 4 different names and everything. And so, like, Sophia is Dominican, and she's, well, the actress is Dominican and something else, but they just made her Dominican on the show. And I like that she plays an actual Dominican, because most of the time, when it comes to Hispanic characters on television, they just always have them be Mexican, but the stars are like different races and stuff. And Sophia used to be the best character on the show. She was so good that fans actually wanted her to be the lead actress in the show because she's more well-rounded. She thinks things through and she's not as impulsive as Gabby. In fact, she is very by the book type person, because there's one episode where this one female Red Ranger from Power Rangers Samurai shows up in the show, the actress, Kim something. I can't remember her last name. But Kim guest starred on the show, you know. And Kim's more like the wild person, and her best friend is the more frugal person, like Sophia. So each person, when they're mad at like their friend, they decide to hang out with the other person, and they're having a great time until the other person is too much like them and it gets on their nerves. But Sophia was so well-rounded that like she will only sleep with a guy by the seventh date. That's really impressive because, you know, everybody else in the show just like does it. But then soon after that, they retconned it and made it to where Sophia just started to just sleep around. See, what happened is that in the first season, Sophia is actually barely in the show. She's mostly just like the sidekick best friend role. If Gabby needs anything, she will just stop in, like, you know, help her out, no matter how crazy or insane it is. So there really wasn't much to her character and everything. By the second season, they started to flesh her out more, and she started to be an actual character on her actual show. And she even has the nickname Little So-So. That she's the only person who calls herself that, but Gabby calls herself that once. And so Little So-So is kind of like her alternate ego, the way she thinks she's so tough and street savvy and everything because she's Latina. And because like Gabby needed like weed to put in brownies because Logan wanted it. So she's all like, we're gonna go to like the medicinal hospital and I'm gonna get you like the hookup because we ain't got no money. And so at some point in time, when they started to flesh her character out, she decides to quit her job because her boss passed her up on a promotion and she just like quit and everything and kind of like cussed them out. So she couldn't go back. So for 3 months on the show, they actually had her unemployed. And unlike Gabby, where Josh would just like bail her out, she really struggled to find like a job and everything. And it was even to the point where her family found out and she was going to have to move back to Florida. There was a position open at Josh's job, but he didn't want to hire her. He wanted to hire a guy. But being Gabby, she lied to Sophia about like, oh yeah, you have the job. But then she had to like sneak her into the place. Be like, all right, Josh wants you to take a picture of his room and just hide for like 3 hours. And then of course she eventually finds out what what's her name did. So every once in a while they would have her date random guys. She dated this one dude, but till she found out what his job was. You know how them people, when they promote sandwiches or food, they dress up as the food and they spin that sign around? That's what he did, and that pissed her off because she didn't want no poor boy. But then she realized she was being selfish because she's poor herself, especially after quitting her job. So they date, but you don't see them date no more. It turns out he cheated on her, only to get back with her at another season, only to cheat on her again. So throughout the course of the show, she's always ending up with one terrible guy after another. Except for this one dude who took her out to ice cream. He was overweight and she didn't care. She just accepted him for who he is, but we never heard or saw from him again. After the sandwich guy, she just starts making out wild and crazy with like whatever guy is willing to date her. And one of the biggest like recurring gags is that she can't find a boyfriend no matter what. And so by this time, she just starts like sleeping around and everything. When Gabby broke up with Josh's brother, Sophia hooked up with him and they dated into the next season until she overheard him saying that she's too pushy and too clingy. And we've never seen this clinginess from her. They just decided to write that into her because this is when they started to ruin her character, as they do with all the other characters on the show. After a while, Sophia just starts to make one bad decision after another. Like there's this guy at her job and she wants to date him, but he's dating another girl. So she creates a lie that breaks them up so she can hook up with him. And it's like, dude, the old Sophia would have never done that. Why the heck is she doing that? And because they're literally ruining her character. But then towards the end of the season, like I told you before, her and Gabby gets to the point where they literally just stop being friends at one point. They're always getting mad at each other. And Sophia literally said, you know, why am I even your friend? Because you clearly don't care about being my friend. And it's kind of almost true a little bit. I mean, Gabby loves Sophia to death, but she's very selfish. But it's to the point where they literally break up as friends only to get back together towards the end of the episode. Because no matter how bad the breakup is, the writers always find a way for them to be like, all right, whatever, I forgive you. And so when they go to like Mexico and everything, Sophia meets a guy there and hooks up with him. But she doesn't want to leave him because she thinks that's her soulmate. So Gabby being Gabby's all like, hey, I can put you in my trunk and sneak you over the border. Sophia had no idea until it gets revealed. And Sophia, when they get to the checkpoint, Gabby didn't understand why they're like, you know, ICE agents with guns and stuff like that. And Sophia told her it's easy to get into Mexico, but it's hard getting out. So this is the big reveal that he's in the trunk and Sophia is like literally freaking out. So they asked Josh to like get him a work visa, but Josh was like, no, this is illegal and everything. But for whatever reason, Josh had like a weak moment and decided to do it and sneak him back over into the country. This is when Sophia gets a job as like an Uber driver. And so she's looking for an immigration officer to take her case to get her boyfriend over. And this is when she meets this new character. I forget his name, but he's her immigration lawyer. Oh, Chris, that's I think his name is. Or Brian, I can't remember. I think it's Brian. I'm not sure. But anyway, I'm just going to call him Brian. It's either Brian or Chris. One of those is the actor's name and the other one's the character's name. And the immigration lawyer dude is rude, stuck up, and cocky. But she hates him at first, but then she ends up like hooking up with him. And it's like, why is she doing that? Because that's not the type of guy she would like. He's even trying to one-up Josh and everything. And they literally only dated for like 5 dates. Only for him to be all like, hey, move in with me. Only because he's trying to win kind of like a bet. But it's like, why is she with this dude? He's horrible. But they do try to redeem him in the other episodes towards the end. See, remember when Josh was going to propose? For some reason, he put it in a giant brown box. This giant brown box looked like a brick of drugs. Because the writers are just the writers, right? And so, like, she thinks it's a brick of drugs and she freaks out and she wants to call the police. But she's not even thinking this through. But then when it's revealed it's a ring, she thinks it's hers. And so she's all like, yes. But then she accidentally throws it overboard and jumps into like the ocean, only for Gabby to go in after her. It takes a while for them to figure out that, hey, you know, this isn't yours, it's for Gabby and everything, that Josh was going to propose. I like the Sophia character and everything. Like I said, I really do. It just sucks when they started to ruin her character, like towards the end. Because for the most part, she had everything well-rounded. She was nice. She was like polite to people. She wasn't like rude like all the other characters and stuff. She only just got fed up with Gabby because Gabby literally became impossible to live with and deal with. Yolanda, played by Kym Whitley. So I have seen Kim in a couple of stuff. She was on this one UPN show back in the day, and I saw her in the second Friday movie. This woman has starred in millions of projects. Why doesn't she have a Hollywood Walk of Fame? If Batman, a fictional character, can have one, I know she can. Yolanda is hilarious in this show. So basically, she's mostly paired with that of Elliot. Her and Elliot are frenemies and stuff, but they're really friends. But they're always insulting one another. And so she is the housekeeper. And just like a traditional housekeeper on a television show, she's lazy and doesn't clean. Now, Yolanda is a character with some problems, but they never address them. Instead, they're played for laughs. Like a stereotypical black person, it turns out she spent time in jail away from her 3 kids. What did she do to go to jail? Nobody knows. She is an alcoholic. She is constantly drinking. You always see her with a bottle in her hand, a glass in her hand, something. She even whips out like a bottle of like wine out her purse. And she even has a flask, and you're constantly seeing her drink. This whole drinking problem is never, ever, 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 ever discussed. Neither is her drug problem. She smokes weed. She has pills. She has all kinds of crap. And it's never, ever addressed in everything. But just like Gabby, she's a hopeless romantic. See, it's revealed in, I think, season 1 that she used to be married and her husband used to cheat on her and she used to always cry to Josh. When she sees her ex, she decides she's going to hook back up with him. Josh doesn't like it and tries to warn her like a good friend, but she won't listen. And so, like, she is constantly going back to a man who used her and stuff. And she only breaks up with him when she realizes he's still messing around. And so you're always seeing her hit on men. But the difference between when Elliot does it is not one-sided. Men hit on her back. She constantly sleeps around, but she just doesn't sleep around. She's actually dating these men. And she'll date any person. As long as they're an adult and as long as they're like, like it don't even matter the race. Because she dated a rabbi one episode. And it turns out they're constantly doing it, but then they broke up. Then they got back together because but then they broke up again because his mom would never approve of her. And so, but you always see her constantly date people who's been in jail. She even lies online, like catfishing somebody, and they catfish her back. And so the thing about Yolanda, she's the oldest of all the characters in her 50s, but she acts just like she's in her 20s or 30s. Until her and Elliot try to stay up all night partying and they can't do it, realizing they're just too old and stuff. And it even gets to the point where they try to, have her do more scenes with the girls by having her move into their apartment and stuff. There's even a scene where she's just hanging out with Sophia by herself, which is interesting because there's a 30-year age gap and stuff. But she doesn't even look it. Now, there's a recurring joke also about her wearing wigs. And then the final scene of the last episode of the series, she gets really mad and whip off her wig and starts smacking somebody with it. And so, I really wish they would address, her drug problem and her alcohol problem. Because they're just playing it off for laughs. But they're not focusing on this serious thing. Now, her favorite catchphrase is, "Oh my damn." And it does get tiring after a while because she's constantly saying it. And, other than that, like I said, her and Elliot are always paired together. And it's weird because at first you think they hate each other, but it turns out they're actually really, really good friends. But they're just always insulting each other. This is when the B story always comes in and the hijinks and stuff. There's a scene where Josh gets a brand new tub for Caroline. And he's going to be gone for the weekend. But Yolanda wants to play around in the tub, but then so does Elliot. So they're fighting over it, and they finally decide, hey, they're just gonna share the tub and everything. Then there's like a scene where Elliot has to have somebody watch him sleep or sleep in the bed with him. So she's the sacrificial guinea pig and everything. But there's a scene where they have to do like a camping type thing. So they camp on the terrace. And when they hear what they think is like a monster, this is when Elliot confesses, oh, Yolanda, I'm always mean to you, but I love you and everything. You're my friend and stuff like that. And so that's like really sweet because Elliot's just like a mean person and stuff. There's even a scene where she goes through like menopause and she has to lose weight in case she gets diabetes. And it's really good that they address this, but once again, it's always played for laughs. And then last but not least is Elliot, played by Rex Lee. Elliot is probably the worst character in the entirety of this show. And I feel bad for saying that but it's the honest to God truth. Like, here's the thing about Elliot, right? Okay, so he is like Korean. Not sure what part, because they never say, but most likely it's South. And Elliot is a very rude character. The thing about Elliot is that you don't really understand who exactly he's just being rude to. See, he's an Asian stereotype of, like I said before, the whole short thing. And they always try to make him look short on the show, even though he's 5'7" and taller than that of Gabby and Sophia. And like a stereotypical Asian, he's like really rude. It turns out his mom is very rude and she's never given him a compliment his entire life. He's overweight and she's always making fun of his weight. Now, when I say he's gay, now listen to me. I might be an outsider looking in, but you know I support the LGBT community. So what I'm about to say next, I am not bashing. But this man is literally every male gay stereotype rolled into one character. And I mean every single last one of them. And like I said before, stereotypes are based on real life stuff. And it's okay to have maybe like one stereotype, maybe two, because, you know, people do act this way. But when you combine all the stereotypes and combine it into one sole character, then you know you got a problem. He has the high-pitched squeaky voice. He prances around. Now, there's nothing wrong with prancing. But like I said before, when you have every stereotype rolled into one character, then it does become a problem. At first, I thought he just hated, like he does hate women body parts and he's really grossed out by that. But at first, I started thinking he just hates women in general because the moment he meets Gabby, he just hates her with passion. And Gabby even says that Elliot hates everybody, but that's not true. He's nice to other people, mostly men, and even a couple of females, but he's always rude and nasty to her. Now, he's rude to Yolanda too, but like I said before, they're just frenemies and stuff. But he just hates Gabby, and it's not like he secretly likes her as a friend. He really hates her and stuff. And a lot of gay men are stereotyped as the hating women. Like, even the Logan character played by Ashley Tisdale is a stereotypical lesbian because, like, she's mean and rude, and a lot of lesbians are known for being mean and rude and stuff. But Elliot, like, you know, and then the thing is, he's like a pervert predator and everything. He is constantly, and I mean constantly, in the first season, in every episode, and multiple times in the episode, constantly hitting on Josh in a very disgusting, perverted, horny way. And it's one-sided. It's so bad that one time when he's mad at Josh, he's literally like, and to think I was going to let you sleep with me. What? You don't tell people that. You just don't. Like, this was before the Me Too era, but by the second season, it was the Me Too era. Because then they started to slow it down where he wasn't as perverted no more. But then they just said, screw it, and then they slowly started to bring it back, and then they brought it back in full force in the last season. And it's just like some of the things he says, you just can't tell a person that. You really can't. Like, because if a straight man were to say it to a woman, he would get canceled. And this is when I say, once again, I am an ally and everything of the LGBT community. But I've noticed in life, sometimes gay men are given a pass for doing certain things that a straight man won't. And it's always women who giving them the passes. Them touching women body parts, them seeing women nude, them calling women the B word, them constantly hitting on people, them catcalling people. All kinds of stuff that, straight men, they tell them, hey, you can't do that. You can't say that. Don't call us the B word and everything. And that's his favorite catchphrase. That in the word bye and everything. And then he starts like prancing off. But then he's always calling women the B word, like constantly. And he's calling Yolanda that. He's calling Gabby that. He's calling other women that. He even called Sophia that one time, which is shocking because him and Sophia get along. But he was mad at her on one episode because he was looking for like a toy that Yolanda bought Josh, a bobblehead that looked like Josh. It freaked him out. He threw it down the dispenser. And so he's in the trash dumpster getting it because he'll also get some extra money from Josh. But then Gabby needed a shirt bag that she gave Josh because it belonged to Steve Jobs. So they tried to get it from Elliot, and he just ended up calling both of them that. And what was shocking is an episode before that, him and his later husband in season 2, because he's single in season 1, him and his husband asked Sophia to be the surrogate. And she said yes, only because she listened to a psychic. But then they both realized they just didn't want to do it and just left her there as they had an earthquake and she's stuck in the room. But the fact that she was going to be the surrogate and he called her the B word was just rude. And he does that to so many women. Now, like I said before, Gabby says he's just rude to everybody, but that's not true. He's never rude to men unless that one man tried to steal his husband. And that's the only time he ever called a man the B word and stuff. But the fact that he is constantly hitting on Josh in a very perverted way is really disturbing and stuff. And it doesn't look good for the LGBT community because they get accused of that stuff, especially lesbians and stuff. And I remember one time I was online and I was talking to this one woman. And at this point in time, she wasn't like, into the adult mauling business. Then later she did. She had 2 friends who kept hitting on me. One was male and one was female. The female, after a while, got the hint, but the male did not. It was at the point where I had to block him. And then I had to block the female too, because then she started acting like him again. And it's just like some of them will hit on people and just won't stop. And it really looks bad for the LGBT community when that's on television, because you know how people treat the LGBT community and they need as much positivity as possible, especially in these hard political times, and especially like on television. So I don't know why he was written like that. And it makes it worse because, like, before I get into that, first let me get into the whole, like I told you, like he tricked Gabby onto going onto a date with like a lesbian and getting drunk with her just so Josh can get in the magazine. Then he tricks Yolanda, making her pretend to be like a drag queen, and she had no idea because he needed a performer at this bar. So he literally tricks her to do it because they think she's like manly and everything. But then by season 2, he ends up meeting a guy from his college named Alan, and Alan is Jewish. He's also gay, and Alan is very nice and very sweet. The character I wish Elliot would be. Alan was a great addition to the show, becoming a recurring character by season 2. By season 2, he was in 6 episodes, and he was in them sporadically and stuff, so it feels like he's in more than just 6. But by the time you get to season 3, 4, and 5, he's only in 4 episodes. And it's so sparse that you forget he's even in the show, especially in the last season. Because you just wonder, where the heck is he, right? So Alan was set up on a date by Gabby, but it turned out to be the wrong Alan that Elliot wanted. But Alan is literally obsessed with that of Elliot, thinking, oh, he's the greatest, handsomest man in the world, and he's the reason why I turned, like, you know, came out and everything, because I was like in love with him in college and blah, 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 blah. So Elliot likes this and decides to date him. And they do their relationship very nicely, but it was a little too perfect written. Almost like, hey, because everybody else's relationship is like toxic, but theirs is the only one that was just like perfect because Alan was obsessed with him. And I think they wrote that just so, you know, the LGBT can have a win, which is fine, but it was a little too positive. By the 3rd season, so they get married at the end of season 2, and they get married very quickly too. Like, it literally just happens after a couple of episodes. But by season 3, they fixed their relationship. Now they argue and everything. But Alan sticks with him, even though he knows his husband is extremely rude and everything. But Alan is a delight on the show. And so, like, by this time, Elliot stops, like, hitting on Josh, but then he will occasionally do it, but not as often. Then they decided to write Alan to be all tell Josh, oh yeah, one time I had like a dream that, like, you know, I was doing you, but I was also doing my mom. I'm like, don't put Alan down that route just because they need something to justify Elliot hitting on Josh and everything while he's married. And by the, like, you know, 5th season, Elliot is back to hitting on Josh full time while he's married. And he even reveals, because he had like a tablet, and so, like, the tablet, when he would take a picture, for some reason, it made him look skinny. And so he's all like, wow, if I had this tablet back then, I would never marry Alan. I'm like, oh, so he doesn't even want the dude. And, you know, it's like, why did they even get those two married if they were going to write him as not even really wanting Alan? It's like he only dated him because Alan was the only person who would date him and marry him and stuff. But he does love Alan. It's just, that was a shocking line. And this is when characters started to get worse. When I say he hits on Josh in a nasty way after he's married, in one episode, Josh got amnesia and couldn't remember nothing past the pilot episode. He doesn't even remember who Gabby is, but he remembers everything in the past. So Elliot uses this to his manipulation. It's all like, you know, Josh, me and you used to be kissing buddies, right? And Josh was like, no, we didn't. And Josh would remember that because he remembers everything before he met Gabby in the pilot. And Elliot's like, yes, we were. So they're like, well, okay, I guess we are then. So he goes in to kiss Elliot, but Elliot's so excited that he passes and faints and everything. So he literally passes out. And I'm just like, dude, how you gonna take advantage of somebody who lost their memory and you're married? I'm like, why would they write him to be that way? And so by season 4, they adopt a kid. They thought they was getting a 3-year-old, but it turns out she's 13. And she's like your stereotypical, like, you know, adoptee and your stereotypical little black girl. She's rude. She doesn't want to be there with them. And she just, like, you know, manipulates them to getting what she wants. And then she ends up running away trying to, and I kid you not, visit her mom in jail. Yeah, because, you know, black people's parents are always in jail. I swear, man, what's up with this show? And so, like, literally, they find her. But here's the thing. Elliot confesses to Alan He never wanted to adopt a child. He didn't even want a 3-year-old. He only did to make Alan happy. And Alan's all like, you know how much I want to have a family and stuff. But then Elliot starts crying because he's upset because Keisha ran away, showing that he actually does want her. But I'm like, dude, it's too late now. He literally said he didn't even want her. Like, you can't go back from that. But it doesn't matter because she's literally only in like 2 episodes and then they write her off. So what was the point in them writing her even in the show? Could you imagine if they did that to Lily in Modern Family? Like, come on now. Like, what was the point in even doing it? And I understand why Emily Osment's all like, it was just the right time for this show to end. Because they was just at the point of season 4 and season 5 getting ridiculous with the writing. And I mean, it got ridiculous to where season 5 just feels like filler after filler after filler episode. And so, you know, at the end of the season series finale, Alan and Elliot decides, hey, let's have a threesome with the person on the yacht because the person wants both of them. And they're all like, I've never done this before. Should we do it? I'm all like, what are you doing? You wrote them to be a loving gay couple. And you wrote them really well and everything. Now you're going to undermine all that by having them do a threesome? So it leads off on a cliffhanger. We don't know what's going to happen because Yolanda accidentally went into the room. So now the guy they were going to have a threesome with wants to have a foursome now. This is when she whips off her wig and starts smacking it. But I really should say something nice about Elliot. But there's really nothing nice about him. And I feel bad saying that, but there's really not. He was written to be like a terrible character. And even when him and Yolanda are trying to lose weight and there's like this fat club and everything, he starts selling the big people chocolate. It's all like, this is fat-free chocolate, but it's not. And so he makes a fortune off it and they gain more weight and then they're pissed at him. This is literally what happened in South Park with Eric Cartman. They're just stealing storylines from other shows now. They have stolen from so many different shows. But I guess the nicest thing he's ever done, I mean, when I say he does terrible things, I already mentioned the whole tub thing, but then there is the painting. Josh had to have surgery on his eyes, so he couldn't see over the weekend. And so Yolanda and Ellie gonna take care of him. Josh, before that, bought a $300 painting. Man, he wants to be the first person to see it. Elliot can't wait. Elliot decides to whip the sheet off it, and he's eating food, and it spills on the painting. They cleaned it off, but he's all like, oh, there's a little bit left. But then he punches a hole into that of, like, you know, the painting. And I'm just like, dude, he's so selfish. He's not even supposed to look at it. And then he went and broke it. But I guess the nicest thing he did was that he helped re-jog Josh's memory. See, they told Gabby to leave him alone because if you start flooding his memories with thoughts of the past, it could cause him to have a psychic breakdown. I don't know how. I thought you're supposed to re-jog their memory with stuff in the past, but whatever. So she wants to do it, but then they literally make her not to. But then he decides, okay, I'm going to play a song for Josh around the time he first met Gabby and started to fall for her. That song helped re-jog his memory and remember Gabby. And he played it off like he had no idea what they're talking about, but he did a nice thing for them, even though he hates Gabby. And it's never really explained why he hates her. I think it might be because there was a male chef who was in line for the job and he wanted him to get it, but instead she got it and stuff. And he probably knew that Josh likes Gabby and he likes Josh. That's really the only nice thing I could think about is him re-jogging the dude's memory. So trust me when I say, I do like this show. I promise to God I do. And it's a real funny show. The only problem is that you start to realize this show should have been made in the 80s or the 90s, because a lot of the stuff that they do in this show would not fly in today's world. And people, fans of the show, are starting to realize that. But people are also realizing just how relatable this show is. The characters really are very relatable in certain situations they get themselves into, which is always what made this show so fun. But like I said, you can't watch this on a free app no more. You have to do it on Sling or Amazon Prime. Happy Women's History Month, everybody. All right, well, I'll talk to you later. Bye.